So this segment is modeled after the Moth Radio Hour that you can hear on most NPR stations if you're a fellow NPR nerd. The Summit Story Hour brings you the human element. You're about to hear the personal stories of 3 remarkable community leaders. These folks have made a real impact by living their passion and connecting with the neighborhoods they serve. They're going to tell you about more than just their expertise or their jobs. More importantly, you'll hear about how they grew into their own and what drives them. We hope these stories help you along your own journeys. Our first storyteller is Ashley Gurvitz. Ashley believes in the power of advocacy and its ability to affect long-lasting change. As a dedicated neighbor to Indianapolis's East Side community, she believes in bringing together neighbors, community stakeholders, and other decision makers to strengthen and improve the quality of life. Before joining the Alliance for Northeast Unification team, Ashley served as the Community Development Manager for Eastern Star Church's ROC initiative. The initiative's efforts within its first 2 years provided approximately $5 million in community projects. Prior to her role at the church, Ashley served as the internship director and a senior legislative assistant for the Indiana House of Representatives. Outside of her professional role, Ashley is also involved with other community organizations such as the Emerging Leaders Project, Kennedy King Memorial Initiative, Northeast Community District Resource Council, and the Damien Center. She is also part of the Indianapolis Citizens Police Complaint Board and is president of the Indianapolis chapter of the Democrat African American Caucus. I have no idea how she found time in her calendar to make it here. Thank you, Ashley, for joining us.
Thank you. All right, good morning. All right, let me try again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so again, thank you. First and foremost to ULI's Women Leadership Initiatives team, the support staff, and everybody that has made today an amazing day so far. How's everybody feeling? Good? Awesome. And actually, we're going to keep the round of applause going for yourself. So thank you. Now, as you heard from the esteemed panelists that have already spoken before us, it is truly important to realize that you are the cornerstone of helping infuse people into land use design, breaking, as we know, the racial systemic barriers into how we develop the future of our next set of leaders within our communities. And seeing that it is that of a very inclusive space, so nobody's being left behind. So as mentioned, again, my name is Ashley Gurvitz. I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Executive Officer for the United Northeast Community Development Corporation. You might also hear another name that floats out there, which is the Alliance for Northeast Unification. We shared that to say that our work is not just one organization, but it is the collective of all of us, seeing that the gifts we bring, the fights that we have on a daily basis in a community, which is a priority for us, being a Black predominant community, is always at the forefront of change. So with our story and my story, it is very much one where hopefully you're able to learn that your individual role, you're blessed every single day to be able to make a difference, and that you can see that you do have its ripple effect within your very own communities that you work in. So before I get going, I'll have this slide deck of pictures that will kind of be able to help narrate a bit of the story. The work we do within the United Northeast CDC is one, I can't do it alone. The team here, as you'll see left to right, includes that of Summer, Miss Jackie. Now, Miss Jackie, y'all, if you call the office, she's gonna let you know what the business is today. No, but she's just our anchor within there. Myself, and then also Mackenzie. Now, with this, it's very important to realize that United Northeast Community Development Corporation was founded in 1995 in a period within Northeast Indianapolis where there was the series of blight. And I like to be very real and honest. One of the best examples of showing what the systemic policies of the past do, especially to communities of color. And I'm going to emphasize as well, a community that is a Black community. And we are every day trying to work today, as those residents in 95 did, saying they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Come on with our Fannie Lou Hamer. You got that? And seeing that we are going to make some change. Now, a little bit about me. It's very, very important to know that I came from a very, very, very diverse household. To the left, you'll see my mother, who is Black, Latina, fiery, came from a military family, been all around the world. So just imagine a household too, where she is now a retired special educator in a district that she was the first minority educator in 2000 at that. Okay, so let that sink in a little bit. In the middle, or next to my mom, is my crazy, rambunctious brother, Adam, who is one of the most entrepreneurial ones within our family. And next to him is my father, my crazy father, but my most loving father. As you see, for that, he is my favorite red hair, blue eye hippie Jew. And the creative juices that you'll see is probably one of the main fuels of my passion of looking at some of our systems that are taking place in our neighborhood, that we were always told that there is no settling for status quo, but you can do so in a creative way. And he does, I say, balance out my mom's Latina fiery spirit by making sure we at least got some balance. Next to that is my sister Tiffany. I just gotta, speak up in advance right now and say I'm so proud of her. Next week we're celebrating her reaching a new milestone in her life. She is the carer, the nurturer. I say the second mom. I used to give her the blues, y'all. But she is actually now getting ready to get her nurse practitioner certification, so we're very excited about that. Then I have me, the baby of the group, and I highlight this being the baby because at the age of 6 months, I was adopted into this very blended family. And there might have been a couple quarrels growing up where I was knowing early that I was adopted, and the fights would happen, and I'd be like, well, I was the chosen one. Y'all catch that later. And then we have my brother Josh as well, continuing that creative heart and flair for passion, one of the best organizers and interior designers that I know. And trust me, when it ever is that time to get married, I'm also going to be hiring him to handle everything, so I don't have to be a bridezilla. And then lastly, the oldest of the bunch of the five, my brother Oliver, the tech savvy, the one with the brains, always growing up, what he earned was his money, and he's gonna make sure by the flashy cars, but also his flashy heart, that anyone and everyone can make a difference. So, back to the idea of adoption. Adoption, for me, is one of the highlight pivotal bits that's helped shape my role into community development today. At the age of 23, I'll be honest, there may be some times where you're like, you are just trying to figure out your way. I knew early on, I love caring for people, but trying to find my space in this world, as I shared being diverse and all these different aspects, was very much a challenge for me. Before, I used to try to hide from it and felt like, well, if I don't know my place in this world, then I'm not going to be able to help account for anything. But at 23, I tell you, that was the make or break difference of my life. At that time, it was like my biological mother heard my cry. I was fed up with life, didn't think much else would be coming to be. But at that time, and this millennial at heart's gonna say, it helped me connect with my biological family. I got one day, someone did drop in my DMs, but it was my biological sister. And she was like, your picture online makes me see some familiarities of what I see in my mom. And I about dropped, to the floor because I thought I was getting cute, getting ready to take my next picture so I could post it online before going out to the club. Again, 23, y'all, right? And that moment on, my life changed completely. It was after doing the DNA test. I didn't want to meet her, but I was so curious at the time that what if this was a match? What if this journey of trying to figure out my care in the world is now right before my eyes? And it was the best thing ever. Now, despite our reunion, and this was actually the day we were able to meet, this sums up a majority of everything that I've been fulfilling. Despite, there was this little internal struggle that I had to deal with for a while. My mother in the middle, Miss Christie, and she wants you to say Miss Chris, and every single time it's not a goodbye, but a see you later. She told me that the reason that she put me up for adoption is because in the rural town that she grew up in, Sharpsville, Indiana, which would be the midway point between Elwood and Kokomo, Kokomo being that of the Grissom Air Force Base and where we have GM today, they wouldn't be very accepting of her having a child that would not look like the environment that I would be raised in. I stop and share this because it was that moment when I realized we can help control the narratives of how we build our environment. There should be no reason at all that a mother has to fear that the love she has is never inadequate enough based off the environments that they live in. And right away, I didn't know how I would do it or what it would count to be. But it also brought me back to the roots. Here on this map, you'll see that a breakdown of our northeast area within our catchment. One of the lines itself is a redlining line, East 38th Street. I found out that the very first place that my parents started their future was on East 38th Street, their very first home that they lived in. Now the home that I am grateful to be living in today, also the church they attended right on East 38th Street, homes for Black children on East 38th Street. I found my way taking a leap of faith of leaving state legislature, fighting for change within that area. And now, after first taking a leap doing work for Eastern Star Church, where again, I heard it earlier about we gotta go beyond the walls. And we started doing outreach, hitting block by block. And y'all, we don't have to wait till the pearly gates or whatever your form of faith may be to make a difference. Now in this community, it's no secret that when we're dealing with communities of color, I always make sure people know first that before you define our community based off of a 35-second-minute clip of the inadequacies our community is, we got people there every single day fighting to keep hope alive at its most hardest times. We do have our plagues that, of course, unfortunate of gun violence. And I'll be very real, its ripple effect of trauma is one that still impacts us today. Starting the year off, we had not one, but two mass murders in our own backyard. And that alone just got back to the fit of how do we do community development different. Yes, we're going to go march at a time downtown when not only are we dealing with the repercussions of George Floyd, but we had Dre John Reed in our own backyard being shot unarmed by a police officer. Well, it was later on found out that he was armed, but despite the point that that was an issue. But we were there in front of Chris Beatty, who is a dear friend of mine, that on the first nights of protest, he was shot and killed. He lived everything about diversity. And so it was at that moment, we're going to be like Chris, and we're going to continue to make a change. We fight today to keep the livelihoods of our youth going through Youth Build, where it's great that they're learning to grow, not only themselves, but with that of the urban agriculture within our area. Yes, we're going to continue to make the fight that as a community development organization, that it's not about just building houses. It's not about just rebuilding the blighted commercial properties. We're going to make sure that there's actually more energy put into our people, which are here. And as you see, that's not my baby, y'all. That's my community baby in my arm. That we're making a difference in making sure that our youth are also in the room. To seeing that one of the big gaps before, the people were sick and fed up of feeling like their elected officials were not there. Now we got a monthly place where our elected officials get a status update about what's happening on the ground, and they're obligated to make sure that our people are heard. To also convening our community builders, which are our new community partner collectives, and also making sure our entrepreneurial spirit is together. Now I'm just gonna flash in here. What does that do? It helps set room for change. In an area where, from a market analysis, it seems as if we cannot get that of the financial obligations of having a bank in our community. At the midst of 2020, we now got a financial institution that committed to bringing a brick and mortar back into the community. Pretty cool, right? First day opening, 39 new accounts. Right here, we got in the middle, Pete Youngman of Cook Medical. It is one of the top employers in the state of Indiana. And also Kent Kramer of Goodwill Industries. What we have here is also meeting with one of our local leaders. And early on, when they decided to make development happen, it was very known that you would do the work with us and not to us. What does that account for? Right now, we are in the process of not only seeing jobs come to the community, but also 100 jobs that have pipeline effects where every single employee have that of a free education paid all the way through a master's. On-site case management. So instead of getting fired just because you have to get a little bit more time for transportation barriers or child care barriers, we got now a buffer to making sure you get the support on-site. And one other great way to talk about it as well, where we now got a 100% minority participation goal already met with 21 general and subcontractors that are a part of it as well. It didn't stop there, and I'm almost done, y'all. Where we, with the time learning that Cook and bringing jobs, they have the philosophy that you can do business, but do good too. They learned about the area not only being a financial desert, but also a food desert. And having inadequate access to healthy, fresh foods, those days are gone. So instead of all the fight and argument to try to bring in a national chain, we are now currently scaling up, as you see in this picture, Michael and Marcus from the neighborhood. Two 35-year-old black men both had their own ventures back to our neighborhood, and I'll let them discuss in the future, y'all, of their journeys. But instead of having their little corner convenience, they will be owners of a $4.8 million grocery store in their own backyard. And that's all due to collective impact of us all coming together. And I'll end up by sharing this, that we do, of course, have our examples of what does development look like. Now, I'll share y'all, this looks a lot different now. We're both are now done. But block by block, we will be able to make a difference. But also block by block, with the collective impact that we're making, we're getting ready to help make new segues into anti-displacement. So I really got excited earlier, and I was writing down quickly the land acknowledgement that we learned about earlier. But imagine across the board that if one entity alone couldn't do it, the collective power that now with development, we're doing everything possible to bring back opportunities to this community, but also keep it and have it be sustained. So looking forward to knowing the more things that we will be doing, but also how we continue to fight. And I had to throw this up as a joke because people know if you ride down East 38th Street, it's a little bumpy, but in a means of it, we are still fighting and advocating for change. We've blocked gas stations, and that was a fun journey, y'all. But most importantly, now we got new things that are coming in, ripping up the past red lines and systemic barriers. And now we will be leading to new advocates of change. So I know I'm over my time, but I appreciate y'all listening to our story. And I want to end by saying this. We have been able to do a lot within a short time span. I came into my role January 2020, of all years. But with these projects, again, all progress moves at the speed of trust. We set ourselves aside and realize you bring your gifts and your passion, and together we can do more together. Thank you.